Hi, I'm Nathan Shively-Sanders, and this is part 2, where I show you how to minify a repro from a full project down to a few lines of code. So last time we set up everything so that you have an error in your editor and not in your terminal. So we can do TSL-B. So we have an error here, well, 3 of them. And of course there's one elsewhere in the project. We can do TSL-B. You only have the one error. So this represents our good state, this is our bad state, so we can compare before and after. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing I want to usually do is sort of take the expression that contains the error and copy it. So I'm going to stick that up here, put a little space in between us and the old code, and then I'm going to start moving things that this expression depends on. Rename that to on so there's no conflict. I'm going to move things that this expression depends on next to it, so it's all in one place. So I'm going to start with the expressions here, use on, and create event name. And use on, actually I want to just grab the signature, not the actual value. So stick a bookmark there. Okay, so I'm going to put that, make it a declare, colon, make the name shorter so it doesn't conflict with the original, and then claim that it returns void, even though the original definitely does not. It returns something else, some complex stuff. The reason I think I'm okay there is actually because this is the last thing returned, and so this doesn't have a type annotation. It probably doesn't matter what I return, so I'm just going to say void, which is the doesn't matter type, sort of, for returning things in Typescript. Create event name is, let's see, this thing, and put that there, do the same trick. Oh, except I need to know what type that returns. Are we going to be able to pull that off? String or string array? Okay, good. String or string array. Yeah, oh, that needs to be a colon as well. Yeah, oh, it needs to have a different name. Create ename. Okay. So that's the 2 values there. Let's move on to the types. So we've got known event names and event query. Let me see here. So I'm going to use a plugin I have for highlighting things that need to be dealt with still. Okay, so known event names. Let's go see what that is. And that is a literal union of all event keys and string. Okay, sounds good. So what I'm going to do again is rename this to something shorter. Okay, known names. Okay, and that's one thing down. However, I need to know, go see what literal union is. Okay, that's a thing. Literal union has 2 type parameters, and then it refers to this thing, primitive. So you can see I'm just sort of going and cutting, pasting, basically at this point. Oh, cutting and pasting at this point. And primitive is pretty simple. So we don't have too much to do there. I think we've reached the end of that one. Wait, all event keys needs to be dealt with. Let me see here. Literal union. Yeah. Okay, so we've got 2 things. Let's take a look at all event keys. Okay, all event keys is key of all events map. So I'm just going to stick this in here temporarily, and we'll figure out all events map in a second here. All events map. Okay, so I'm not trying to simplify too much as I go. I'm just trying to copy for this step. But in this case, it suddenly got complicated with a bunch of omits and a reference to several things. So whenever I see an object type, especially one with a bunch of intersections, I usually can guess that it's depending on the bug, it's usually okay to take one member of the intersection. So in this case, I'm going to try all event map raw. and I'm going to basically, instead of taking all events map, claim that all events map raw is that thing, is all events map. And in fact, this is another big intersection. So I think what I'm going to do is actually say type all events map equal HTML element event map. So let's try that. HTML element event map. Oh, thanks, Copilot. A little bit too eager, but pretty good. Now, technically, this is I'm pretty sure this is a DOM thing. Yeah, this looks like the DOM. Yeah, libdom DTS right there. So, okay, I'm going to mark that and try to get rid of it at some point. But DOM stuff is a little less important because it's easily available. But it does make the repro a little bigger, so it's better to get rid of it if you can. But all events map is fine. It doesn't even need a rename. I think I'm going to rename it just so it's obvious that I have renamed it. Make sure that I don't mistakenly depend on the real thing. I think we're down to event query. Yeah, it's referred to a couple of times. Oh, and the event query is right here. So let's just copy that, stick it here, rename it equal. Okay. So I've got equal. It extends all event keys, which should be renamed all e-keys. And element, I believe, is another DOM thing. Yep, that's in the DOM, so I'm going to just mark that for later. Event from name. I'm going to mark all of these, actually, so that I remember to get rid of them. But let's look at event from name. Okay, that seems simple-ish. And I'm going to rename it E from name. And then I need to know what else the event is. Ah, it's this thing. Okay. So once again, it refers to all events map, which I've renamed to all emap. Okay. That looks pretty good. So that was E from name. So, okay, that leaves us curl and event handler. Oh, I should stop actually and make sure the error is still there. Let's double check to make sure back here that the error is still showing up. Yeah, so the error is in fact just the lone error that's part of the other bug that was showing up in this repo. The one we're working on has not shown up in the good commit. Good. Okay, so was event handler the DOM thing? No, it's not. Event handler is this thing. All right, well, there's our bivariance hack. This might be the problem. Bivariance hacks are pretty suspicious pieces of code. I'm going to stick it in here. I'm going to delete the comment actually because I know the bivariance hack. I feel like I'm responsible for a lot of them out there. And it doesn't have any external dependencies except for element, so I'm just going to leave it. I guess I'll change the name to eHandler though. Okay, eHandler. Finally, let's look at Quirl. Okay, and this is just a big old object type. Well, not big, but it's an object type. Once again, I'm just going to try taking just the first part of the object type and ignore the second part of the intersection. And see if that works. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of some comments so that it fits on one screen better. White space. Okay, we still have our error, and there's this thing quirl dev, which might not be super complicated, but I'm pretty sure I can do without it. Usually object types, you can really almost always get down to 0 or 1 properties for a repro. They're usually not implicated in bugs, which sounds kind of odd, but they've been around a long time. So, okay, we have our error, and oh, I forgot to rename it. Yeah, okay. I don't know, curl2, where was it used? Ah, here it is. Okay. Let's try that again. One error. Good. All right, so I think I've got everything except the DOM elements. I don't know, let's go ahead and get rid of those two. So HTML element event map is a big old thing. So here's what I'm going to try doing. I'm going to cheat to say interface HTML emap empty interface. Sometimes this works. Nope, didn't work. Okay, never mind. Well, actually, let's keep that name. Element event map. Let's try putting in one property. That was enough. Let's make sure we didn't introduce any errors here. So we have one property now, but unfortunately it refers to a DOM event. I'm just going to zero that out to an empty object type. Yeah, the error is still there. And we still only have one error here. So we're good. Okay, so what was the last thing? Element. Can I... What if I just inline that with a curly? Yeah, okay, we didn't need that at all, looks like. Good. Okay, so now I think all of the DOM types are gone too. So let's take our code and dump it into a new empty project. So I have a folder on here called TSC bug, and it just has an index that I don't need and out file from building it a bunch. Let's take a look at the config. I think the tsconfig is fine. It's just sort of a bit pretty much vanilla tsconfig. Yeah, so let's keep that. Okay, so let's touch index.ts, go back to here. I want to open the folder of TSC bug. And yeah, I want to do index. So we paste that in. Oh man, paste broke. That's what I get for using VI paste, cut and paste. Okay, so, fine. Let's go back to quick. Let's try copy paste. Oh, let's try copy paste again. Let's see if that worked. That's better. Okay, so we have our error. That's great. So this is always the trickiest part, to make sure you've actually made it independent and aren't dependent on any funny settings in the tsconfig. Which, like I said, the tsconfig is pretty simple. I have strict on. It's usually a good choice, and I'm targeting ES next. But like I said, it's a pretty standard. There's not too much funny stuff going on here. Let's check. Yeah, we're in TSC bug. Let's use it. We don't need TSL-B anymore because it's just a single file. We can use TSL. And in fact, it is clean on there. So we've successfully pulled all the code we need to make the repro smaller out into a separate file. All right. So I think that's not it for part 2. For part 3, I'll show how to take this and turn it into, hopefully less than 10 lines instead of, what is this, 35 lines. I mean, this is already pretty good, but it's going to be a lot easier if we can make that smaller.